Welcome back, everyone. Now, there is something that I mentioned in another recent video about cryptid beings, and that is the crawler. Now, this is interesting, folks, and I'll tell you why. I'm going to call this creature's bluff and say that this creature tells us more about ourselves than the creature people are encountering. You know, spiders exist in our environment naturally, and we know that they are everywhere. But they are small, and we know that they are a natural part of the animal kingdom. And they are on the menu as other animals will eat them, right? But when we encounter a spider, it's the same thing when you encounter a bee. It really depends on who you are and if you have that fear or not. Most people who have that fear understand that spiders are creepy, they can bite, and so they must die. But this thing, the crawler, this thing really needs to stop creeping and crawling around like something we want to kill. And that's my point. It's like it intentionally wants to elicit fear and stress. Imagine being alone at night near a road, a neighborhood, a place that should feel safe, right? And then you see it. Pale, thin, moving wrong, not quite human, not quite animal. People who encounter this thing often say the same sentence. I don't know what I saw, but it wasn't supposed to exist. Even if you saw something that was a hallucination, what was it that induced the hallucination? And of something that already has a reputation and lore established. It's hypnosis. The term crawler isn't ancient folklore, it's modern, and that's important. So, unlike Bigfoot or Dogman, crawlers didn't come from campfire stories passed down for centuries. They came from internet forums, 911 calls, police reports, witnesses trying to describe something they had no name for. But the common description is extremely pale or chalk white skin, and emaciated, almost skeletal-like body, long arms and legs, sometimes moving on all fours, large, dark, reflective eyes, jerky or unnaturally smooth movement, sudden bursts of impossible speed. Now, what I described could just be a naked crackhead, but many of the people who encounter them themselves, if what they saw was just a naked human, a drug addict or someone injured maybe, that's only until it moves. Now, these crawler sightings are consistent across regions. The Appalachia, the Midwest, rural Pennsylvania, suburban areas near woods, abandoned buildings, tunnels and mines, liminal spaces. What's crazy is how close many encounters occur to populated areas. These aren't deep forest only sightings. People see them crossing roads, standing at tree lines, watching homes, on rooftops, in drainage tunnels near schools after hours. This tells you something about its level of intelligence and its intent, right? I mean, being sighted near schools after hours, it's exactly what you think it is. Think about this. Crawler encounters often include strange mental effects like intense dread before visual contact, time distortion, memory gaps, difficulty explaining the experience afterward. And then there's the trauma, nightmares, avoidance of certain areas, there's that persistent feeling of being watched. And this is very telling. And I think people should understand that this is actually the way evil spirits operate. Folks, when it comes to the spiritual realm and the paranormal, the same consistent psychological effects are present in so many different encounters with different types of entities. And one of the things that evil spirits attempt to do is break people down mentally. And inflicting trauma is a good way to break someone down mentally. One thing that people do not like is pain. And giving yourself over to an unseen dark entity in exchange to be released from that pain, that's called possession. So they think, or some people think, this could be a case of misidentified humans. But you can't really account for the extreme speed, the elongated anatomical proportions, the repeated sightings and where they occur. Or maybe this is a subterranean species, something that has adapted to low light environments, possibly emerging due to habitat disruption, or in other words, an increasing human population. Ultra-terrestrial, interdimensional beings would explain their appearance near liminal spaces and their effect on perception. One of the most important things to understand about the crawler phenomenon is what doesn't happen, right? So, despite hundreds of reports, forum posts, first-hand accounts going back years, there are no verified, well-documented cases of crawlers physically attacking people in the way we'd expect from an animal or a predator. No confirmed maulings, no bodies were recovered and linked to them, right? No consistent pattern of physical injury, no territorial behavior like charging in most cases, chasing or defending an area the way bears, wolves, or even large cats do. And that absence is actually one of the strongest clues we have, because whatever people are encountering, it doesn't behave like a conventional predator at all. What crawlers seem to do is something very different, and it shows up most in what happens to people after the encounter. The most immediate effect witnesses describe as a kind of psychological shock that's hard to put into words. People say the fear hits before they even fully see anything. There's this overwhelming sense that something is wrong, like an internal alarm going off all at once. You'll hear people say things like, "I knew something was wrong before I saw it," or "Every instinct I had told me to leave immediately," or even, "It felt like I was exposed." And that's important because this isn't normal fear you'd feel seeing a wild animal at night. It's a panic that shatters your perception of reality. After the encounter, a lot of people report a lingering sense of being watched that can last weeks, months, or even years. They become hyper aware of their surroundings. Windows suddenly feel uncomfortable. Tree lines feel wrong. Some people refuse to return to the exact spot where it happened, even in daylight. Others develop a sudden fear of the dark well into adulthood, even if they never had one before. What's also telling is that this happens even to people who don't believe in cryptids at all. These aren't folks who were out there looking for this thing. Think about this. In most of these cases, there was no attack, no injury, but the brain treats the memory as if something that must be avoided at all costs. That's more than just surface level fear. So if crawlers aren't attacking people, what are they actually doing? When you line up the reports, a pattern starts to emerge. They appear briefly, often at night, and then disappear. They seem to observe rather than pursue. They trigger fear without giving chase. And once they're noticed, they tend to retreat instead of escalating the encounter. And while they often return to the same locations, they don't appear to follow or target the same people. That behavior looks like an assessment. If crawlers wanted to hurt people, they almost certainly could. They show up at night, they move faster than humans. Encounters often happen when someone is alone, and there's almost never any real resistance or challenge. The fact that they don't attack strongly suggests they aren't territorial, they aren't predatory, and they aren't acting defensively, which leads to a spine-chilling revelation. The point of the encounter is the encounter itself. This is why these things do this, simply because they want people to experience the encounter. The fear, the awareness, the disruption. Crawlers don't function like animals at all. They may be more like a boundary phenomenon, a presence that becomes visible under certain conditions, and something that registers human attention rather than seeking human prey. In that sense, you're not being hunted, you're being noticed, and you are being lured into darkness from the memory and trauma of the encounter. And for many people, that realization is far more disturbing than any physical attack ever could be. Anyway, folks, that is going to be all for now, and there is more to come. Please click the thumbs up button and like this video. Let me know your thoughts about this subject in the comments below. Everyone have a great day, and as always, stay awake, stay aware, stay safe, and I'll talk to you all soon.